You're listening to the Drumming News Network. The Drumming News Network is a daily news site focusing on the interests of drummers with new product release information, artist updates, and much more. In essence, all things drums, keeping even the busiest of people up to date. DrummingNewsNetwork.com.
Hello, everybody. This is Paul Rogne of the Drumming News Network. I am talking with Mike Mangini and Shawn Crowder about Mike's new book. They worked together on creating this amazing third portion of his series of books. Mike, can you please introduce Shawn and tell me how you guys started working together and about this book?
All right. So Shawn Crowder over here studied with me at Berklee, and during the development of the post-Rhythm Knowledge 1 and 2 series, which he read. And during the course of my tenure at Berklee, I developed what would become this, the Ultimate Stickings Rhythm Knowledge 3, as well as Rhythm Knowledge 4 and 5, which are to come. Shawn, as a student, hit me as the person that I would probably tap to co-write it with me, because I tend to write novels and I need people around me to dumb it down, like Frank Dolan did on the first 2 books. And I would send buckets of information. You go, is this better? I guess more brief. Yeah, it is. So Shawn was that person, and he also was able to really take the stuff in and understand what its purpose was, and actually very quickly use it, and that's part of the a sign of how powerful and potent the system is. And it's on him tonight to tell his view on that and describe it. But so Shawn co-wrote the book with me. He's intimately aware of this entire system, including what's to come, because we've already penned the exercises and just have to complete some other steps. And I'm sure Shawn's looking forward to those last steps.
That's right. Yep.
So that's who he is.
So, Shawn, what is your expertise in being able to edit books?
Well.
I'm putting you on the spot.
Or edit me.
That's right. It was a learning process, because I'm a musician first and foremost, and I think it happened at a good time, because I think if we had done this much earlier, I don't think it would have been as dialed in and polished. So I just kind of taught myself how to use the software, to put notation first of all, which I was doing since I was in high school. And then, later learning how to organize things in book software as well. So it's been a process of teaching myself the same way that I've kind of done with recording software, for example. So, yeah, I think the first thing was that I had studied with Mike and, was very aware of how the systems themselves work, and that probably just lends itself to being able to help Mike organize that into a book form.
Are you a teacher yourself?
A bit, mostly playing. I've got my own band and touring around with that. I do teach when I have time, but it's something I do when I can find a pocket of time. I'll do online lessons or sometimes on tour, but mostly playing at the moment.
See, the system works.
It absolutely works. Yeah,
he's out. He's out there
for sure. I can definitely say firsthand that this stuff is gold. Mike's systems, as you know, Paul, you make so much more progress, so much more quickly, and Mike is really, really good at finding those next steps to get somebody to the next level. So. It absolutely works.
Hey, it works with me. If it's going to work with me, it's going to work with anybody. Anyway, go ahead.
That's right.
Well, can you please give us a quick outline, Mike, on the first 2 books and how it relates to the third book?
Yeah, the first 2 books are it could be lengthy conversations, but I'll break it down. The first one is most important because it has to do with the cognitive processes, the inner game. You know, people have written about the inner game of sports, the inner game of this, and what happens inside. And I found that to be the most valuable place to start as a teacher, because the reason this exists is because I was asked to give drum lessons, and I honestly had not done that. I didn't, go to the college for teaching or anything like that, and I didn't think I was capable, quite frankly. So I thought, well, if I'm going to do this and I'm going to be responsible for that person, I want to know how they work and how I work, and like, why can I do things other people can't, or why can other people do things and I cannot do those things? So this book talks about the process from the inside out, from your mind through your body into the instrument, and then being able to process what's going on and back. It's like a circular thing. So that's what this is. And it gets deep, and it also explains, well, what is music notation? How does it work? What's this? How does it work? What is it? It's just a bunch of definitions and proofs and explanations. And it works for sports. It's the same process that happens inside. The second book is what to do. In other words, this is a lot of philosophy and proofs. This one is like, okay, look at anything and everything that can be done rhythmically can be broken down into a small amount of systems, and I did that. And presented them in this book, Rhythm Knowledge 2. Sorry, I've got to get my colors right. It's the blue one. So in this one, it's 5 systems. The first system is the most important one, the one that everyone would like to skip, which is the clock, the internal clock setting one. It's counting. Mm-hmm. And as you get into rhythm knowledge, you realize that's nothing more than keeping track, because the word counting has been sort of perverted in a way, and maybe used where it shouldn't be and used where it should be. So it gets confusing as a word, as a term. But it's basically developing that clock, then developing all the limbs in the body, then developing a counting system, which is essentially a way to feel rhythms, which is not quite double, which then goes into mixing and matching different amounts of notes at a beat, which then ends with permutations, which are just nothing more than stickings in a way. But I kind of expanded it to apply to all possible limb pairs and all that good stuff. So Rhythm Knowledge 1 is the inner game. What are we? How do we work? How does my memory work? How can I retain this information? And basically boil it down to a 3-step system. Learn a specific way, record it, put it in your memory, and then use it. So learn, record, use kind of summarizes the first book. The second book is, well, what to do. Here are the systems. And the interesting thing about the second book that leads to the third one is that you can make of yourself what you, or basically who you would like to become as a musician by putting together all the puzzle pieces. You do anything you want, any limb pair, any combination, and any rhythm, whatever it is. This book is birthed from those because it combines them in the following way, and I'll simplify it, and I'm going to have Shawn kind of chime in with his take on it. But the stickings are very simple. Okay, if you were to just look at them as they are, and you would to apply lefts and rights to them, because you can use any one of the limb pairs, but if you were to apply lefts and rights, they're very simple to do, which is the right thing. I want it to be simple, but the rest of the book, the thick part of the book, is on what to do in the inner game to wire up not just a set of limbs with stickings, because anybody can do that. There are tons of books with lefts and rights and stickings. All right, we're not reinventing the wheel here with that. But what happened was I was able to figure out a way to order them to train the body to get to the sense of touch, to feel things more quickly without having to count every single note. So in this book, the explanation on the inner game does this. It says, okay, look it, pick 2 limbs, assign left and right if you would like to, but we're going to use the other 4 limbs right out of the gate, meaning the mind. So the mind is paying attention to where the time is, the bass time, the voice, because that can go in different places. It can keep track of different things. And the other 2 limbs. So essentially, it's stickings with, you could use your hands left and right, but you're involving the other 4 limbs in a basic kind of way to start the training process. And it's simple, but if you don't follow the directions, which is the bulk of the book, you're going to miss out on making the rest of the rhythm knowledge system that is to come. You're going to make it a lot more difficult. And you could make it easy just by following the simple steps in here. So it's easy to do, but it's methodical. Everything is for a reason, and it is the critical link from the first 2 books to what is to come. Shawn.
Yes, it is absolutely the link. So if volume 1 is how to practice, volume 2 is what to practice, volume 3 is the link between them, and as Mike said, the link to what's to come. And Mike, you also mentioned the order of things is very, very important. And that applies to this book specifically, but also on a grander scale, because I think the order of introducing volume 1, the how to practice, that's also very important. I mean, this theme is everywhere, right? So how to learn how to practice, then what do I practice now that I know how to practice efficiently and effectively? And then now, let's take this into sticking territory. So we've talked about rhythm and, 2-limb combinations in volume 2. Now we get into the 4-limb and then 6-limb stuff involving the voice and mind.
Okay. So, Shawn, since you've been through this whole system, can you kind of expand how it really outlines an actual independent rehearsal with book 2 specifically?
Well, it will allow you to, it's designed to, as Mike said, to get you to feel things immediately and then be able to also play, a note grouping of any length, right? But not for the purpose of being clever to play a 13-note pattern. It's just, it happens to be, a way of wiring up the mechanics. So if you can play a phrase of any length, then in theory you can insert an accent anywhere in the measure. So this can all be 4/4, just simple groove stuff, but you're learning to place an accent or a double stroke in every part of the beat. And so, there's a lot of applications to this book, and we could spend quite a while if we wanted unfolding all of the different layers, right? Because you can practice the stickings by themselves and just take them at face value and acquire vocabulary that way, or you can apply it to all these other scenarios where you have an ostinato, let's say, some repeating pattern with 2 limbs, and then with the other 2 limbs you can wire up, freedom essentially is what you're after.
Okay.
So this is the path from point A to point B.
And the thing is, what he's saying is that the design of these stickings, first of all, the stickings are organized into 4 major groups, and they work from 20 all the way down to 2, separating evens and odds, which is very sort of book 1 rhythm knowledge. There's a reason why they're ordered like this, because the order in which you practice them, you want to go downhill. You don't want to climb uphill. You want to go downhill. It's easy. Get on a slide. Get a slip and slide. Cover yourself with water and go, whee! That's a lot more fun. That's a lot more fun than climbing up a hill with rocks and slipping and hitting yourself and falling on your face and giving up because the mountain is so daunting. Why not just go downhill? So these stickings are organized in groups. They are ordered. And not only are they ordered, but they are laid out in steps for this purpose. You can't be in 2 places at once. And I'm not just talking about advanced polyrhythms and crazy, 4-limb in the body coordination and all that stuff. Really, this is about maintaining control of your facility so you have more brain CPU to be creative. It's about being a musician. And it doesn't even mean about subdividing every pulse into 11 tuplets, and then accenting every fifth one of those. No. I mean, yes, that stuff's going to be easy after you do this, but it's not what we're trying to get to. Our goal is to help people become the musician that they want to be and not have to overthink the actual act of playing the thing correctly that you want to get out from here to there. It could be completely like, quote, out of time with accelerandos and decelerandos. It could be on the grid. It could be meticulous evenness you're looking for. It could be ostinatos on top of ostinatos. It doesn't matter. Nobody should be concerned with being, quote, a musical moral judge of someone else to decide what they should like or not like, or who they should become or not become, or that it's too many notes or too little notes or too fast or too slow. Nobody should ever do that to each other. We should all be so busy having so much fun that we can't even take it. That's how much fun, and Shawn and I experienced that, and people that have taken this system in. So what we're trying to do is take and make something, which we did, stickings, and make it so you can feel different musical expressions in a way where you can absolutely basically play anything, play any rhythm, because you can't be in two places at once. You got to maintain your job as a drummer and know where the time is and know what the feel is. But to respond to other musicians while not messing up your job, to be creative while not messing up your job, and to actually have a blast coming up with different ideas and enjoying yourself without messing up your job is what this book does. And it does it quickly, and your chops go through the roof. Again, Shawn mentioned we could do a lot of talking about a lot of applications of this, but I think the both of us want to streamline the message, and that you even as a listener want to know, what do I do with this thing? What is it? What's it for? How do I use it? And so, look, basically, it's an incredible. It's actually it's an extraordinary way to get immediately to the sense of touch. Because if we can't feel something, we can't play it, right? It's just I'm sorry, but anyone that relies on feel for timing, well, your balance goes off. You have balance shifts. So it's not just about that. There's a way to manage that so you don't do something you don't intend. But the whole thing about if you can't feel it, you can't play it is true. That's why anybody that doesn't even want to know anything intellectual says, well, I just feel and do this. That's great. That's fantastic. I mean, good for you, but I'm sorry, but I couldn't just feel everything. Mm-hmm. I needed some guidance. And what I found is a way to isolate, target, and organize absolutely anything and everything you could possibly do rhythmically and put it into a digestible form. And I needed Shawn for that. Otherwise, these books would have been like this thick.
The other interesting thing that Mike mentioned that maybe, Shawn, you could speak to a little bit, he hadn't played the drums in a while just because he had been really busy. He got back on the set. He was really dreading about not being able to pick up where he left off, and he picked up. Does this system, in your opinion, really work that way?
Oh yeah, I mean that's something I definitely found, not only with these exercises, but just Mike's teaching in general. Not that I recommend taking a lot of time off of the instrument, but if you do, for whatever reason, you find that you come back and you've retained those skills. I mean, this stuff sticks in a real deep way. Yeah.
Chops. You don't have to. But we can all agree, and I think anybody listening can agree, what is worse as a drummer, or any musician, right? What is worse than sitting down at that instrument, dreading practicing because you have to catch up to where you were, and you have to keep living that Groundhog Day nightmare? It won't happen. And not just out of these three books, because there's more than just these. There's some other things, that have to do with pure technique, but they're accounted for here, and that's why it works. That's why I got off tour, did not touch my drums for a whole month, and was not worried about it because I had other work to do, settling major areas in my studio facility, redoing them all, and stuff was everywhere, so I couldn't do any teaching. The stuff for the drums was all torn apart. I had to get both kits. The point being, I was like, I'm not worried about it. I want to watch the Bruins game tonight. I'll get to it. And sure enough, I applied this to my weak point, which are my foot chops, and I've never seen that kind of like get it back and then progress inside of 2 days and in my whole life. So anyway, I mean, because this is like it's kind of out of my thing. I've known about it, but until we organized it, I got back into it more again. I don't know about you, Shawn, but once we started finishing books 3, 4, and 5, as far as the exercises, it's like it was a reminder of, oh my gosh, I got to dive into this thing again. Like, oh my gosh, it really, holy crap, this works.
Yeah. Oh, I've been using it like crazy, actually, in this break between tours, wiring up all kinds of patterns and stuff, getting ready for the next album that we're going into the studio for. So stuff works, and I use it to this day. So yeah.
Can you please give an overview? Maybe Shawn, you can speak to this. The overview of the whole series, and when will we be seeing the additional volumes coming out?
Well, as I mentioned before, Volume 1 is essentially how to practice. That's the simplest way to put it. Volume 2 is what to practice with the 5 core rhythm knowledge systems. Volume 3 is a system in and of itself. It is the ultimate stickings. That is a standalone system, but it's big enough that it warranted its own book. It is also the link between all of the books. So there's elements of, Volume 1 and Volume 2 in there, but it is definitely the foundation that you need for like the ultimate stuff, which is to come.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's just more coordination. So if you don't set up the communication link in your brain for your mind, the use of your voice and the rest of the limbs, it's just the other stuff's going to seem like, why do it as a science project, blah, 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 blah. But it's about coordination, and it's not about craziness. It's about stepping way back to the simplest of grooves as well. It really is, because it's about the swing in between the notes. It's about the control. It's just this opens up your mind and gives you such peace and focus when you are playing. That's why whatever music I play in maybe some portions of Dream Theater, but outside of it and other things that I do, is just simple. And I find total joy in it, because it is as potentially difficult as a Crazy Four-Limb thing. They both have their own peculiar difficulties to them. You can't, nothing's easy. I don't think anything's easy. I don't think you can just rest on your laurels, because then your job as a drummer and providing time for everybody will compromise that situation, it's not that easy to have a special kind of a swing. I mean, how many drummers have an incredibly unique sound, and they're just who they are, and they're the right person for a certain kind of, music or a group of people. So it's really about experiencing the full Monty, so to speak, so that your mind is aware of what's going on, and it's maybe keeping time. Where your voice, when we use that term voice, what it means is, just let me give you an example to just keep it simple. The voice can be used not only to count the notes, or every other note, like Not Quite Doubled in book 2, but every other note, or occurrences like this. Let's take a simple triplet. If you have a triplet, jagada, 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 jagada. Your mind is there, your voice is there, your limbs are there. They're all in one place. If you take a sticking that is, let's just say, it has 12 notes in it, and you're going to keep track of every other one, or 6 of them, right? So it's dot, 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 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So on. And you do the odds, your voice starts to go on the in-between. So let's say if it was 11, I know this might sound complicated, but I'm trying to demonstrate what you can use the voice for. So 1 and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1. So we're going 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6, 1. But as you can tell right now, when I say that, you're in 11. Like your mind is in 11, your voice is in 11, your body's in 11. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6, 1. The 1 is right there, and you're feeling every other one. But if the feel of the music is a different time base, like a triplet, you use your voice to keep track of where you are with the pattern without losing the time, because your mind is your internal clock, in other words, is the time. And eventually, I'm going to skip way to the end game here right now. At the end of the day, these stickings can become your internal clock. They can be a way of keeping time without counting everything like that. For example, if some of the stickings which have double strokes go like this, like if you do, let's take a simple paradiddle and just do doubles after it, which is very well known. People do that, okay? Paradiddle and doubles. You don't have to count all the numbers of the beats. You can just count the opposite doubles if you want, like paradiddle 1, 2, 1, 2. So paradiddle 1, 2. You understand? If I
counting
do doubles,
double strokes.
Paradiddle 2, paradiddle 1, 2, 1, 2. So you're not counting however many notes are in the pattern. You're just counting the doubles. In other words, these stickings help you keep track. They help you feel, so the counting reduces. So the more advanced you get with the stickings, the less counting you do, the less thinking you do. And I know that was a long-winded way of saying it, but
yeah, well, I think what you're alluding to, Mike, is the you get to a certain point where the voice and the mind split off. In other words, we're used to counting and always hearing our count as the time signature that we're feeling, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1. That's 1. Like we've all agreed, or at least you've decided in your mind that this is 1, and so therefore that's where it is. Now, what happens when you're in 4/4 and you're going to play a 5-note pattern? Now, if I am feeling 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, but counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now we have a split, which is kind of a big moment for somebody as a practicing musician, is we're not usually thinking about counting something that's different than the internal bass time that we're hearing. And we're using the term bass time to mean just a generic time signature or subdivision. It's like, what are you feeling? What is the pulse you're feeling? Is it, if you're feeling groups of 5, you can call it 5/16 or quintuplets. At a certain point, it doesn't really matter. That's just a matter of like how you decide to notate it. But you can feel this as quintuplets or in 5/16, right? So that's what we mean by bass time. You choose your bass, whether you're in a subdivision of 5 notes or 4 notes or
that goes
whatever.
in the pulse.
Yes.
It goes in the pulse. Yeah, earlier, I mean, in the late 80s, when I developed these terms, or I applied these terms to what would become rhythm knowledge, I had to figure out a way while teaching to be consistent with my language. So I had to be consistent with my language, and I found that bass time was a good way to describe what was inside of a beat. So you have a pulse or a beat, you have notes inside of them, and that's how we use the term, which comes into play in the book at the end to suggest, or sort of to suggest, that you start to wire up the other limbs. So you're actually feeling the bass time while you're forced to use your voice to keep track of the pattern. And that's how this works.
You know what was really cool a little bit earlier? We actually saw how you guys edit. When we work together, Mike, you wanted to the big speech, and you edit it down just to a few phrases. This is awesome. We got to experience it. So,
Huh.
Oh yeah, no,
Yeah,
that's
I mean-
correct. Yeah, that's Shawn is doing what Frank did and enjoyed doing, and it's like you can see the joy and fun. It's like I have to express everything with no stone left unturned, and when I'm able to just express it and do it, it's sort of a way to get it out so I can see it, and eventually I can organize and get it all straight. But to have somebody immediately there just to quicken the process is really, really amazing and helpful, because we understand what the goal is, we understand how it works, and all that good stuff. So you seeing it, that's the real deal. That is
Absolutely.
absolutely the real deal, you know. So there we go. We're at the point where hopefully we've communicated that Rhythm Knowledge Volume 1 is this inner game, how things work, which is based on, well, what are we, you know, how do we work. Book 2 being, well, okay, here are 5 systems to boil everything down, just wire up these basic modules of a musician that apply to all musicians. This is not just for drummers. I mean, however many other musicians that I have taught in my lifetime, especially at Berklee, guitarists came to me, wind instrument players, so string instrument players and wind instrument players came to me. And I'm glad that I remembered to say that, because here's something interesting. There could be a saxophone player that eventually catches wind of this particular interview or something, or this system. And from the get-go, they probably could say, excuse me, this voice you're talking about, I'm sorry, but my mouth is on a reed and it's really busy, so I'm not going to be counting all this stuff while I'm playing my instrument. And I had that said to me. And it was a great experience, because, you know, I'm smiling like this and I'm teaching this saxophone player what the system's all about. And I said, look, this is something that you train with no instrument. You can do as a human being. That's what makes it applicable to non-musicians, which I'm reaching more of now, that once they start to feel the on and the off of a beat, they're enjoying music more, because they're not getting confused when the beat flips up to the up, which that's why pop music is pop music. It doesn't flip to the in-between. It's as simple as it gets, right? I mean, Shawn, I think I got that one pretty simple.
Yeah. Right.
The music goes in between or it doesn't. You know, and it's not easy to process that if you don't sort of expose yourself to it and train yourself, to give yourself time to get used to it. And we'll use that phrase a lot, getting used to things. But the saxophone player is like, what am I supposed to do? I said, we're going to do this now. Right now, we're just going to do it. And what I did, I said, okay, we're going to count these things together right now. You're going to use your hands and tap. You use your fingers, on, off, on, off, on, off. These two, these two, these two, these two. So I trained him with all 12 combinations, and he was like, oh my gosh, like that. These are my weak ones. I'm like, well, not for long. Not for long. They won't be as weak. You'll always have your strength. You'll always have that. You're a righty. You'll always be a righty. You know, you'll always have that. But you're going to close the gap quickly. And then the next step was, okay, we'll do an experiment now. Here we go. The experiment, it's like count, say the numbers, and then use your imagination to hear your voice in your mind. Counting, because you're busy. A vocalist is busy. I'm busy. I'm busy talking shop while I'm on stage playing. I'm like, oh, who has time to speak out these numbers, you know? But if you listen to this sound of the drumsticks hitting each other, and I hit, so many hits, and then I stop, we'll all be able to use our imaginations to continue hearing the drumstick sound in pitch and in time. Let's do it.
Okay. And
you hear your voice that way. So it's like, I want to make sure my input level doesn't freak out over here. So. I hear it. I hear voices.
I hear drumsticks.
I hear drumsticks. I hear voices in my head.
That's all great.
So no, I hear drumsticks. I hear clicks. So you can use your imagination, but you have to have something tangible to recall. Mm-hmm. And so going through the exercises, counting for any and all people, is an absolutely vital step, and I try to make it fun. I mean, in the lessons, I've always tried to have people be really comfortable and have a laugh and understand what they're doing and give perspective, and then coach people through things, and it works very quickly. It's coaching's fun.
Well, just one quick note on what Mike just said is, the whole reason to use the voice is as a means to training the mind. So the voice is a link to that imaginary voice or imaginary metronome. Now, what's the application of that? The application is when you're playing a groove or a song, you can imagine the sound of a metronome in your head or your own voice counting, and that is one of the most reliable ways to play with solid time. So you, like Mike said, you can't imagine something without having seen or heard or felt it before. So that you have to go through the process of counting first. So counting, I think, a lot of times gets conflated with people think, oh, I don't need to count because I understand the rhythm. Like counting is a means of like understanding an odd time signature. Like, okay, yes, on one level, but really what we're talking about here is having that physical connection between the limbs, your voice, and ultimately the mind.
Yeah, and the other thing is that counting is a word has unfortunately been perverted to mean things maybe it shouldn't mean. I mean, I would rather use the term almost keeping track, right? And we do. Okay, but counting does suffice. It's just that it can apply to different things. Let me talk about. It's not always counting numbers and counting all the beats and counting the signature. It's some training to do. It turns people off. We all get that. We all know that. But in my mind, when I'm on stage with Dream Theater, I hear my voice saying one or first chorus. Oh, here comes the second chorus. And I'm not sitting there in front of people going, here comes the second chorus to a view from the top of the world. Okay, I'm going to move my right hand now. I'm just thinking the second chorus. Okay, now I know I have to do this other bit that's not after the first chorus, nor is it after the third chorus. It's only after the second chorus. Second chorus. And you hear your voice in your head. It's a matter of keeping track. So with this example here from book 2, this is amazing. It's because shape is the crux of everything in the system. We can get on that topic in a minute, and I don't want that to get too long because it's deeply philosophical. But look at that's song form, the shape of a song form. So if you look at that, let's focus on the letter B. Focus on the letter B. So we have A happening 3 times, B happening once. A happening twice, B happening once. Now C, the chorus, let's just say. That happens 2. Let's say each one of those blocks is 8 bars. So then the A follows, we'll call that the verse. And it's like 2 chunks of 4, or 2 chunks of 8, whatever. So you got 16 bars. Now you get 3 Bs. Take a look at this for a second. You got the B occurrence happens once. The next time the B happens, it's once. The next time the B happens, it's 3 times. So this whole voice thing is a matter of, I'm on the second B section. It's only one of these. And I think that while I'm playing, it's only one of them. Don't extend it. It's not ready. You're not ready yet. Go through the different parts. It's like here's the third time. Now I've got 3 Bs in a row and I get to repeat this thing. And so we're keeping track of occurrences, counting each and every single note. Of course, it's a bogged down. Of course, here we are talking about it as if preaching it as the thing to do, which is, but what we mean is we're trying to reduce it, but we're not trying to ignore it because it's part of what we are and it's part of how things work. If somebody's okay with not counting a darn thing, well, like I say, I get it. if a mother bird goes to its nest, it knows 4 eggs versus 3 eggs. It knows if an egg is missing. And it's not sitting there saying, I have 3 eggs now instead of 4. You know what I mean? It doesn't say those words. What if it speaks Italian? Hey,
Right.
I got 3, these are 4, I don't, or Spanish. It's not like there's languages. Language is a way to represent occurrences. So counting, that's why it can be used in different ways, and sometimes inappropriately. And what I don't like about its perversion is it makes people feel badly. It makes people afraid of it. It makes people misunderstand and misinterpret it. As I said earlier, this stuff is about hope. It's about hope. It's about being able to learn things you didn't know, being able to play things you couldn't play, being able to find joy in things you did not find joy in before, styles of music that you shunned but maybe shouldn't have, and you can like and not like it. But when you get to the point of criticizing and being the moral judge of someone else, that's a foul. That's a foul to say something doesn't groove. It doesn't groove to you. It doesn't groove to you, but it grooves to someone else that understands the groove. Because what is a groove? A groove isn't always, maybe let's call it 4/4 with a little bit of a swing to it, which of course feels wonderful and is musical to most people. I can sit here and have a ball being a goofball, but there's a joy, there's a feel to it. This that's not going to translate, okay? I don't think most people are going to go, man, dude, that was wicked groovy, man. It was wicked groovy to those that understand the breakdown. If I was to explain what I just sang, then it's like, I want to learn that. That's cool.
Yeah, so it all comes back to feel and simplifying things. For as complex as you can make it, because you can make it as hard as you want, for all that, it is extremely simple. It's easy for anybody to learn, and it applies to everybody. Whatever your path is, and that's the beauty of it, is you can choose the musician you want to be. And that's, one thing that I massively appreciate about you, Mike, is that you never forced me or any other student down a particular path. It was always, Shawn, what do you want to learn today? And then let's see where that goes. So many teachers have an agenda. They have a curriculum, a syllabus, and these are the songs you need to learn. But with Mike, it was just I didn't want somebody to tell me what to play. I already had all these. I was overwhelmed with exciting possibilities, notebooks full of things I would love to be able to play. I just needed help getting there. So rhythm knowledge has given me the path from point A to point B in a clear step-by-step, do this, do that. Here's why it works. Go put in the time.
So on your YouTube video, you have a video called Drum Solo. It's a very cool drum solo about discovery. How do you feel this system applies to that approach to that solo when you're playing?
What it has done for me is opened up possibilities. It's offered me hope, as Mike has mentioned, hope that, one, I can learn to understand something, and two, I can actually learn how to play it. And that's like the greatest gift of all, is being able to know that you can achieve something if you have the right tools and the right roadmap to get there. So for me, it's opened up possibilities. It's opened up all kinds of wacky rhythmic stuff too that's just fun, and it's given me hope.
So, Mike, accompanying these books, and we're kind of getting long here again, I just wanted to touch upon some of your other resources you have offered to people, your Vimeo channel specifically, and how does Vimeo channel work with these books?
It contains the clockwise, counterclockwise limb system, and the not quite double counting system for pattern recognition. But the key to Vimeo is that both courses are step by step. They are so simple, and they're an hour apiece. They're easy to comprehend. I am coaching every step of the way on what to see, what to hear, and what to feel, and what to think. Every step of the way. You cannot possibly mess it up. But I recorded 4 hours of play-alongs for the clockwise, counterclockwise system and 9 hours of practice with me. So it's like I'm in the room with you, going through different tempo levels with everybody. And it's nice to have company. So it's what it is. It's like the two main rhythm knowledge systems, the most important ones, the body and the pattern recognition and the voice counting, and coaching. The coaching is so important. That's what's different about my Vimeo and my lessons, is you get coached through, and I don't talk at all. Believe that?
No, I don't. You'll find
Nah.
a way.
No. Nope, the play-alongs is 60 BPM, clockwise, counterclockwise, go. And I'm just practicing with me. It's panned. It's pretty amazing, actually. To be honest with you, it helps me. Hey, look it. With all the stuff in these books, I spent a bit of money paying for books that really would have taken me 300 years to figure out what that person did. I'm not talking about a drum book. I'm talking about a field of cognitive science, or in philosophy, or in physics, or in math, because all of that stuff is involved here, but it's not, you can't tell. It helped me formulate it, but I didn't reflect that, except you can get a hint of that stuff. Like, all of a sudden, there are 256 permutations with 8 beats with 2 voices, and then the next page I make something called an array, which is not that difficult a thing, and I use matrices and things, which is math, and then it starts to like wig people out. So it's like I actually removed the matrices from book 1, and those will resurface later. This kind of conversation, things can start to sound complex here and there, using words people aren't familiar with or used to, but you boiled it down. It's simple stuff when it's just one-on-one or you're in the group classes. It's like, look, it's step by step. The Vimeo is coaching. Shawn is one of many people that are living proof of actually how far you can go with this.
And Mike too. I mean, you're also living proof. That this stuff works. I mean, this is not stuff that you're, inventing and then just sitting on a shelf. You're using it every day. So,
when you said that, it made me think of your video of the alien. And you did some classes of it. I love how sometimes you do something you're like, I can't believe I just did that. And it's like your excitement of discovery, of trying new things is really contagious. And I don't know. Thanks a lot. It's just, I don't get a lot of good drum hangs, and I really enjoy that. So thank you for doing that.
Great. Awesome. I thought you were going to call me Elf on the Shelf for a minute. I didn't know where you were going. It shows you how busy my mind is. I'm like, where's it going to go? Oh my God. I'm starting to get ready for a comeback. Well, I have to learn how to defend myself because everyone around me rips me all the time, which is very healthy. It's very, very healthy that people kind of humble you and they go, hey, you zing, 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 zing. All right. So you get used to thinking that way. Sorry about that. Just to boil this down to, I guess, some common applications, common terms. Auditions is something that are difficult. And, you both know, especially Shawn, my whole history of those, competing school, jazz, classical, all the bands I've auditioned for, positions, all that stuff. Essentially, in an audition, this stuff helps me be able to execute things so more of my mind is available to respond to people. So I'm responsive, I'm careful, I have more of that brain juice to kind of look at people's body motions and just open up a whole world. It's almost like seeing the world more vivid, and that training by putting all the, quote, mechanics in the boxes that they go, and just let them be what they are and don't worry about them. They're in there, they're done. You don't have to overthink it. It allows for what I guess where I started this whole thing, which was Rhythm Knowledge Volume 1. It's about the cycle. You're inputting some information, you process it, you have your own thoughts and everything, and then you spit it out through your body, you play it, and then you evaluate it, and you're listening, and the whole cycle just keeps going. And if your mind is in the wrong place at the wrong time, that's when the short circuits happen. So I guess this system's about avoiding short circuiting. It's just like getting your thoughts in the right place for stuff like that. Just an audition,
Right. Thinking the right thing at the right time.
Yeah. Yeah, that's I should go ahead. I should probably apply it to interviews. Why, but
This has been an awesome drum hang, so I'm good with it.
Yeah. I get it. I get it.
I was going to say, before we get going here, is there anything that either of you would like to add about anything else you're up to about the book that we haven't covered yet?
Shawn?
I think, go grab the book. That's the main one. I would emphasize what we've touched on a little bit, which is that, this is for anybody and everybody. It's for the advanced people that want to take it really far, but it's also for beginners that, I was telling Mike earlier today, I'm learning to play lefty with, not fully lefty, but with my feet. I'm working on some basic grooves with a hi-hat on my right side, kick with the left. And I just think I've got the stickings here. Let me just go through that. And it's working unbelievably well. So even if you're just wiring up the basic patterns to play a groove, like talk about ostinatos, what about just, simple stuff? That's applicable, and that's stuff you can use in your work as a musician or just, playing with your band or whatever it might be. So point being, this stuff is so applicable to any situation because it's the fundamentals. And, I think Mike does a really good job of getting to the core of things and organizing systems in a way that just work. So,
yeah, I go off of natural laws and order. The chaos doesn't work. I needed it ordered. It's like, go ahead, do this. Hey, look this computer wouldn't work the way it works if things weren't ordered inside of it. Things weren't functionally sound. It's just there's a way to do it. Computers weren't in existence at one point. Well, I guess approaching music in this way definitely wasn't in existence before it. Not in a collective way like this. Definitely not. So it's just an advancement, that's all. But at the end of the day, it's an advancement to make things simple. I don't have to understand all the guts of this laptop and how it's working. I buy it, I press the buttons and go, okay, well, I'm going to pay the money for the privilege of using it or whatever. So with this, you're paying the money, right? And it's not that much. And you sit down and you get all wired up just unbelievably quickly. And in a way that's like Shawn playing a basic ostinato. Well, it's like the stickings help him feel all the possibilities without being bogged down counting every single note. And I'm sure you played all the numbers from 20 down to 2, all the evens and all the odds. Right. So he covered everything.
Exactly.
So what can't he play when he's finished with that? There's nothing.
Right.
There's
nothing
nothing
left,
out there.
really. Yeah.
So we can just. That's it. I'm gonna just keep going. So you better cut me off, Paul.
Well, guys, thank you so much for being on the show. It's been such a pleasure, Shawn. Getting to know you has been really cool. I just want to turn people on to a couple of your videos. First, as we talked about the drum solo, but secondly, dude, the 22-inch hi-hats. I got to ask you about that. How do you like that? Right. How did it work?
Oh, I love big hi-hats, and surprisingly, I have the little ones. These are only 14s. I like 16s, but these are 18s. So I guess they're pretty big, but I don't know. That video is just fun. I don't know. That I didn't overthink it. It was
fun, but something I never thought of. The biggest hi-hats I ever heard of was Steve Jordan and he got a pair of, I think, 19-inch hi-hats. I thought,
Yeah.
how could he control that? But they actually sounded pretty good.
Yeah. No, it sounds great. I mean,
What?
When I toured with Vai in the Asian territories, I had to completely dumb the kit down. I couldn't carry a ride cymbal, so I set up 18-inch hi-hats on one of my remotes, and the remote had a hard time with it. But it's like I could use it as a cymbal bell, and I actually kind of really enjoyed it, but then ditched it because I was able to, get 100,000 other cymbals around me. So Shawn doing that too it's fun, isn't it?
it is, absolutely. And sometimes it gets you out of your comfort zone, or it just makes you play differently, to set the kit up in different ways. And I know you do that, Mike. I mean, you've talked about on different recording sessions,
Every
you'll
tour.
set up. Yeah, right. And I mean, what does that do for you? It makes you play.
No, it just makes people think I'm a lunatic. That's all. So, like, I don't know why I do this crazy things. I change the drum kit on every tour. I'm always putting stuff where it's not supposed to go. But it's like, it's the beauty of being at peace with yourself and moving forward and not worried about who's trying to question you or pull you back or tap you in the shoulder about how many notes you play, how many drums you have set up, the color of your drums, the blah 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 blah. It's just like I that's why those kind of not attacks, but those words, it just never really bothered me that much because I'm just too busy going forward, and it's fun. So you set up a weird set of hi-hats. You know what? It doesn't work, so you try something else. I switch the stuff up. I don't know. It sharpens my focus a little bit. It does. But I am excited to go, hopefully, like back to the bigger kit, which is what I used on my solo album, which will be soon. Let's finish. But for everyone to hear, it's gonna. Who knows how long that's gonna be? But anyway, point being, I don't know, Shawn. I get bored, or I just refocus, or sometimes I just have an idea. It's just like, well, I would like to have a bell sound here, or a ride that's with a little more attack, but I can't fit it, so I want a thick piece of metal. I want to put it over here. I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm always evolving. Always
for
evolving.
sure. That's the way to do it.
It's fun.
Guys, thank you so much. This is a blast.
You're welcome.
Buy the book.
Thanks, Paul.
Rhythm
Buy the
Knowledge,
book.
Part 3, Mike Mangini.
Don't be left behind. Subscribe today. This has been a production of the Drumming News Network. All rights reserved. All media is owned by the respective parties. This episode cannot be distributed or copied in any form. Please visit drummingNewsNetwork.com daily to keep up on all the latest drumming news. Copyright 2022.